Why does he act like he doesn't care when deep down you know he does? Why does he pull away, stay silent, or disappear when his actions once showed interest? It's frustrating, it's confusing, and most of all, it makes you question your worth. But before you let self-doubt creep in, understand this: his silence isn't always what it seems. Stay with me until the end, and you'll uncover the truth about his silence. Because once you understand what's really happening, you'll never waste your energy chasing mixed signals again. Instead, you'll hold the power. Silence has a language of its own. It speaks louder than words, but only to those who know how to listen. Too often, when a man grows quiet, you start to overanalyze. Was it something you said? Did you come on too strong? Did he lose interest? The mind races to find answers, searching for a mistake, a misstep, a reason why the energy suddenly shifted. But let me tell you something powerful. His silence is not a reflection of your value. It's a reflection of his internal battle. Men are not wired to process emotions the same way women do. While you might want to talk things out, connect and understand, he might feel overwhelmed, unsure, or even afraid of what he's feeling. And when a man can't make sense of his emotions, he withdraws. He doesn't communicate, not because he doesn't care, but because he doesn't know how to deal with the intensity of his emotions. And here's the shocking part. Sometimes, the more he craves you, the more he pulls back. It sounds illogical, but human psychology proves it time and time again. When a man starts to feel something deep, something real, his instincts don't always push him forward. Sometimes they tell him to pause, retreat, and analyze. Because for many men, deep emotions equal vulnerability. And vulnerability? That's unfamiliar territory. But here's where most people make the mistake. They assume that silence always means disinterest. They assume that if he's not texting, calling, or making the effort, he doesn't care. And while that can be true in some cases, it's not the full story. Some men use silence as a shield, not to push you away permanently, but to protect themselves from feeling too much too soon. So what do? Do you wait? Do you chase? Do you demand answers? No, you shift your mindset. Because here's the truth. When a man is silent, you don't lose your power, you gain it. You gain the opportunity to see who he really is. A man who truly values you won't stay silent forever. He won't leave you confused, questioning, or stuck in a cycle of guessing games. The right man will find his voice because he knows losing you is not an option. But the wrong man, he will remain silent. And that's not your burden to carry. That's his decision to stay in his comfort zone. And when you understand that, you stop seeking validation from someone who can't even communicate. You rise above it. So keep watching, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to handle his silence. Not with fear, not with self-doubt, but with strength. Because once you understand what his silence truly means, you'll never let it shake you again. Desire is a powerful force. It pulls, it consumes, it lingers in the mind even when you try to push it away. But when a man desires you, when he truly craves your presence, why does he stay silent? Shouldn't he be chasing, calling, doing everything in his power to keep you close? That's what logic says. But human psychology doesn't always follow logic. A man's craving for a woman isn't just about attraction. It's about emotion, control, and fear. When desire becomes deep, it becomes dangerous to him. Not because you're a threat, but because you awaken something he can't fully control. And control? That's something many men are afraid to lose. From a young age, men are taught to suppress emotions, not embrace them. Strength is measured in silence, not vulnerability. So when a man begins to crave you on a deeper level, his instincts don't always lead him to pursue. Sometimes they lead him to pause. Because desire, when mixed with emotion, forces him to confront feelings he might not be ready for. And here's the shocking truth. When a man craves you but doesn't act, it's not because he doesn't feel something. It's because he feels too much. His silence is an emptiness. It's internal noise, a battle between what he wants and what he fears. For some men, silence is a form of self-protection. They know that once they step forward, once they admit what they feel, they lose control over the outcome, and that scares them, because craving someone means needing them. It means risking rejection, vulnerability, and change. And change, even when it's good, can be terrifying. But let's go deeper, because not all silence is fear. Sometimes it's strategy. Some men test a woman's reaction by pulling away, not to play games, but to measure her level of investment. They wonder, will she chase me? Will she wait? Will she prove she needs me just as much? This is where many make the mistake of chasing validation. When a man is silent, the natural response is to seek answers, to ask, to reach out, to prove that his presence matters. But in doing so, you shift the power. Instead of standing strong in your own value, you feed into his uncertainty. You confirm that he can step back and still have you waiting. But real strength, real confidence, it's understanding that a man who craves you must find his own way forward. That if he truly desires you, he won't stay stuck in silence forever. Because a man who is ready, a man who knows what he wants, won't let fear keep him frozen. He will act. He will show up. He will step forward with certainty, not hesitation. And if he doesn't, then his craving was never strong enough to overcome his doubts. And that's your answer, not your problem. Silence is revealing. It shows who is willing to fight their fears and who is still controlled by them. And when you understand that, you stop taking it personally. You stop seeking what should be freely given. You stop waiting for clarity when his actions have already given it to you. A man's craving is never just about physical attraction. It's about emotional readiness. The right man won't just desire you, he'll be ready for you. He won't let silence be the thing that keeps him from having you in his life. So when faced with silence, don't react, observe. Let his actions define his intentions. Because the man who truly craves you, he won't stay silent for long. Silence is not always absent. It's not always a lack of care. Sometimes it's the only way a man knows how to process what he's feeling. When a woman is overwhelmed with emotions, she often wants to talk, to express, to release what's inside. But when a man is overwhelmed, he withdraws, he shuts down. Not because he doesn't care, but because that's how he's wired to deal with emotions internally. Men and women experience emotions in completely different ways. While women are naturally more expressive, men are often conditioned to keep things inside. Society teaches men that vulnerability is a weakness, that emotions should be controlled, not explored. And when a man starts to feel something deep, something real, his first instinct isn't always to share. Sometimes it's to retreat. When a man craves you but falls silent, he's often lost in his own thoughts. He's processing. He's weighing the depth of his emotions against his fears, his past experiences, and his ability to handle what's unfolding. He's trying to understand why he feels what he feels and what it means for him moving forward. But here's the frustrating part. While he's going through all of this in his mind, he gives you nothing, no reassurance, no explanation, just silence. And that silence, it creates doubt. It makes you question everything. Because when someone truly desires you, wouldn't they want to show it? Wouldn't they want to be close, to communicate, to build something real? That's the way most people think. But for some men, the deeper the feeling, the more overwhelming it becomes. And instead of stepping toward it, they take a step back to figure out if they're ready for what's ahead. But here's the truth. Processing emotions is not the same as avoiding them. A man who is genuinely trying to understand his feelings might go silent for a moment, but he won't stay there forever. He won't leave you in confusion while he figures himself out. He will return with clarity, with action, with an effort to make things clear. The real danger is when silence becomes a pattern, when he uses it to keep you uncertain, to make you question your place in his life, that's not processing, that's emotional avoidance. And you should never waste your time on a man who refuses to face what's right in front of him. When a man truly values you, his silence will be temporary, not a permanent state of hesitation. He won't leave you guessing. He won't leave you questioning your worth. Because while men process emotions differently, a man who is ready for love will always find a way to communicate it. So when faced with his silence, don't rush to fill the gaps. Don't chase after answers that should come freely. Watch, observe, and most of all, know your worth. Because a man who truly wants you won't let silence be the thing that stands in his way. Silence isn't always hesitation. Sometimes it's a test, a way for a man to see how much power he holds, how much effort he truly needs to give, how much you're willing to tolerate. And that's where most people get caught, mistaking his silence for emotional struggle, when in reality, he's measuring your response. Some men pull back to see if you'll chase. They want to know if their absence makes you anxious, if you'll reach out first, if you'll prove your attachment to them. Not because they don't know how they feel about you, but because they want to know how much you feel for them. They want to see if you'll break your own boundaries just to pull them back in. And here's the hard truth. If you prove you'll chase after him, he'll keep doing it. If he sees that silence keeps you on edge, keeps you waiting, keeps you overthinking, he'll start using it as control. Not always consciously, not always with bad intentions, but the result is the same. He learns that the more distant he becomes, the more effort you put in. And once you start chasing, the entire dynamic shifts. The moment you start trying to fill the silence, trying to decode his behavior, trying to earn his attention, you lose your power. Because now, instead of standing in your worth, you're seeking validation. Instead of being the one who is pursued, you become the one proving your value. And that's not love. That's a cycle of emotional imbalance. Real connection doesn't require tests. A man who is serious about you doesn't need to create confusion just to see if you'll fight for him. He already knows your worth. He doesn't need to pull back just to see if you'll come running. He steps up, he communicates, he makes things clear. But the moment you start rewarding silence with your effort, your energy, your constant attempts to bridge the gap, you teach him that he can give you less and still keep you, that he can be inconsistent and you'll still be there, that he can pull away and you'll still prove your loyalty. That's not strength. That's an emotional compromise. And the more you tolerate it, the more it continues. So when a man goes silent, do nothing. Let him sit with his own choices. Let him feel the weight of his own actions. Let him see that you are not someone who waits endlessly for clarity, for validation, for love that should be given freely, because the right man, he won't test your patience with silence. He won't risk losing you just to see if you'll stay. He will show up not with hesitation, but with certainty. And if he doesn't, you just learned everything you needed to know. Silence is never just the absence of words. It's a statement, a message, a revelation of where a man stands, whether he realizes it or not. People assume that silence means uncertainty, that it's a phase, that if they just wait long enough, it will pass. But silence is an action, and inaction is a choice. When a man craves you but goes silent, he's already telling you something, not with his words, but with his lack of effort, with his hesitation, with his unwillingness to step forward despite his desire. And that should tell you everything you need to know. A man who truly wants you, who values you, will not let silence be his form of communication. He will not let confusion be his presence in your life. He will not expect you to fill the gaps while he decides what you mean to him. Because that's not how real connection works. Silence forces you to ask yourself the hard questions. Is this what you deserve? Is this what you want? Because love, commitment, and deep emotional connection do not thrive in uncertainty. They don't grow in doubt. They don't exist in a space where one person is constantly left guessing. And yet so many people ignore what silence is showing them. They make excuses for it. They convince themselves that he just needs time, that he's going through something, that if they are patient, he will come around. But what they fail to realize is that if a man truly wants you, if he truly sees your worth, time is not something he needs to decide. It's something he fights for. A man's silence tells you if he's willing to risk losing you. And this is if he's comfortable leaving you in uncertainty, if he is okay with creating distance instead of closing it. And the moment you recognize that, you take back your power. You stop waiting for clarity from someone who has already given you the clearest answer through his actions or lack of them. If a man's silence is making you question yourself, shift your focus. Instead of wondering why he isn't stepping up, ask yourself why you are staying in a space where you are not being prioritized. Instead of waiting for him to realize what he has, realize what you deserve. Instead of hoping he will return, understand that the right man wouldn't have left you questioning in the first place. Because the right man, he won't let silence speak for him. He will show up. He will be reassured. He will make sure you know exactly where you stand, not through words alone, but through consistent action. And if he can't do that, then the truth is simple. He was never ready for you. And that's not your burden to carry. How you respond to a man's silence determines everything. It sets the tone. It defines the power dynamic. It teaches him what he can and cannot do when it comes to you. Because the moment you start questioning yourself, over-explaining or chasing after him for answers, you shift the control into his hands. And that is exactly what you should never do. A man's silence is not an invitation for you to prove your worth. It's not a challenge for you to convince him of your value. It's not a test for you to pass. But too often, people fall into that trap. They take his withdrawal as a sign that they need to do more, be more patient, be more understanding, be more available. But the truth is, the more you try to fix his silence, the more power you lose. Because a man who values you, who sees your worth, won't let you feel confused. He won't sit comfortably in silence while you question everything. He won't risk losing you just to figure himself out. Real connection doesn't work that way. The moment you stop reacting to his silence, you take back control. You stop letting him dictate the pace. You stop allowing uncertainty to keep you emotionally invested in something that isn't investing back in you. You let him feel the weight of his own choices, and most importantly, you send a message: I do not wait for anyone to decide if I am worth it. Because that's the real lesson here. You are not an option. You are not someone's afterthought. You are not meant to sit on the sidelines while a man debates whether he's ready for you. A man who is ready will show it. He won't expect you to chase him. He won't make you wonder where you stand. He will make sure you know. So when silence comes, meet it with silence. Do not call, do not text. Do not sit there trying to decode his actions. Watch what he does when you stop giving your energy to someone who isn't giving it back. That's where the truth reveals itself. Because a man who truly wants you will not stay comfortable in your absence. He will not let you slip away without a fight. And if he does, if he remains distant, if he allows silence to define the connection, then the truth is clear. He never valued you the way you deserved, and that is not a loss. That is a lesson. A lesson in self-worth, a lesson in knowing when to walk away, a lesson in understanding that real love does not leave you in doubt. So stand firm. Do not break your own boundaries. just to hold on to someone who isn't holding on to you. Because the right man, he won't need silence to realize your worth. He will know it from the start, and he will show it every single day. The moment you stop chasing, everything becomes clear. No more confusion, no more second guessing, no more wondering where you stand, because the truth is simple. When you remove your energy, when you stop reaching out, when you let the silence speak for itself, a man's true intentions are exposed. A man who wants you will notice your absence. He will feel the shift. He will realize that the effort he once took for granted is no longer there. And that's when you'll see what he's really about. Does he step up? Does he reach out? Does he make things right? Or does he stay silent, proving that he was never truly invested in the first place? This is where most people struggle. The fear of losing him makes them hold on longer than they should. They convince themselves that if they just try harder, if they just give it one more chance, things will change. But holding on to someone who is already letting go doesn't bring them closer. It only drains you. When a man goes silent and you match that silence, one of two things happens. Either he realizes your value and comes back with clarity, with effort, with real intention, or he fades away, confirming that he was never truly there to begin with. And while that second option may feel like a loss, it's actually a gift, because now you're free from someone who was never going to give you the love you deserve. Too many people waste time waiting for clarity that has already been given. They analyze every little detail, trying to figure out what he's thinking, what he wants, what he feels. But the real question should be, why are you trying to hold on to someone who isn't showing up for you? You do not need to chase after what is meant for you. You do not need to beg for love, for attention, for consistency. A man who truly sees your worth will make sure you feel chosen, not confused. He will not risk losing you by staying silent. He will not make you question your place in his life. So when you stop chasing, pay attention to what happens next. Because the way a man responds to your absence tells you everything you need to know. If he truly wants you, he will make it known. And if he doesn't, then the silence was never yours to fix. It was his way of showing you that you deserve better. And that is the moment you walk away with your power intact. No more waiting, no more hoping, no more settling for less than what you truly deserve. Because the right man, he won't let silence be the reason he loses you. He will make sure his actions speak louder than words. There comes a moment when you realize that waiting is no longer an option, that holding on to hope is only holding you back, that chasing after someone who is standing still is a waste of your energy. And when you reach that moment, when you finally decide to stop waiting, you take your power back. Silence isn't the problem. Your response to it is, because silence only has power over you if you allow it to. If you sit there questioning yourself, doubting your worth, overanalyzing every little action, but the second you decide that silence is your answer, everything changes. No more chasing, no more hoping, no more giving someone space to make up their mind about you. A man who values you will not risk losing you. He will not leave you in the dark. He will not expect you to sit around waiting for a decision that should have been clear from the start. So when he goes silent and you stop waiting, something powerful happens. You force him to confront his own actions. Does he step forward and fight for you? Does he realize what he had and correct his mistakes? Or does he stay exactly where he is, letting the distance grow, letting the silence take over? That moment of truth reveals everything, because real effort cannot be faked. Real love does not need convincing. And a man who is truly ready will make sure you know exactly where you stand. But if he stays silent, if he lets the connection fade without a fight, then understand this. That is your answer. That is your closure. That is your freedom. because no man who genuinely cares about you will let you walk away without a reason to stay. And that is when you shift from waiting to walking away, not out of anger, not out of revenge, but out of self-respect, out of the understanding that you deserve consistency, that you deserve effort, that you deserve to be chosen, not as an afterthought, but as a priority. Walking away doesn't mean you never cared. It doesn't mean you didn't try. It means you finally realize that someone else's uncertainty is not your burden to carry. It means you refuse to stay in a place where you are not fully valued. It means you trust that what is truly meant for you will never leave you confused. Because the truth is, when you walk away from the wrong person, you open the door for the right one. The one who won't go silent, the one who won't make you question your worth, the one who will stand beside you not just in words, but in actions. And that is the kind of love that's worth waiting for. A man who truly wants you will never leave you wondering. He won't allow silence to be the thing that pushes you away. He won't make you feel like an option while he figures out what he wants, because a man who is serious about you already knows your worth. And when a man knows your worth, he moves differently. He doesn't disappear when things get deep. He doesn't shut down when emotions get involved. He doesn't use silence as a weapon, a test, or a form of control. Instead, he communicates, he reassures, he puts in the effort, not just in the beginning, but every single day, because real men, men who are emotionally mature, don't play games with something valuable. But the wrong man, he will keep you in a cycle of uncertainty. He will let you overthink, overgive, and overcompensate. He will leave gaps for you to fill, spaces for you to chase, and confusion for you to solve. And every time you try harder, he will pull back just enough to keep you guessing, not because he truly cares, but because he knows he has control. This is why silence is so dangerous, because it can make you believe that the problem is you. That if only you were more patient, more understanding, more forgiving, he would step up. But a man who truly values you does not need you to convince him of your worth. He sees it, he respects it, and he acts accordingly. That is the difference between a man who is ready and a man who is just passing time. A man who is ready will not put you in a position where you have to wonder how he feels. He will not let his ego, his fears, or his past wounds get in the way of treating you right. He will make his intentions clear, not just with words, but with consistent action. So if you find yourself constantly questioning where you stand, if his silence is forcing you to search for answers, then that is your answer. A man who truly wants you will make sure you never feel this way. He will never make you feel like you are the only one putting in the effort. He will show up for you in the way that a real man does, with clarity, with commitment, and with certainty. Because love is not about making someone feel lost. It's not about confusing them or making them earn basic respect. Love is about showing up. It's about consistency. It's about making sure the person you care about never has to question where they belong in your life. So if a man's silence is making you question everything, then it's time to stop waiting for him to change and start realizing that the right man would never put you in this position in the first place. You don't need to explain your worth. You don't need to prove why you deserve love, respect, or attention. And you definitely don't need to keep repeating yourself to someone who has already shown you they aren't listening. The truth is, when someone truly cares, they don't need endless reminders. They don't need long explanations about how their actions hurt you, about how their silence affects you, about how you just want them to meet you halfway. A man who values you will already know what he has, and he won't need to lose you to appreciate it. But the wrong man, he will keep you talking, explaining, hoping, and waiting, not because he doesn't understand, but because he doesn't care enough to change. He hears you. He knows exactly how his silence makes you feel. He sees the pain, the frustration, the confusion, but instead of stepping up, he stays the same. because he knows that as long as you keep explaining, as long as you keep trying to fix things, you're still there. And that is where the cycle begins. You try harder. You overextend yourself. You give him the benefit of the doubt. You tell yourself that maybe he just needs time. Maybe he's afraid of commitment. Maybe if you just explain one more time, he will finally understand. But deep down, you know the truth. If he wanted to, he would. If he cared enough, he would change. A man who truly wants to be in your life will make sure you know it. He won't leave you questioning. He won't make you feel like an outsider in your own relationship. He won't let you do all the emotional work while he sits back, comfortable in the fact that you'll keep trying. So stop explaining. Stop justifying why you deserve better. Stop waiting for a man to wake up and realize what he's about to lose. If he doesn't see it now, he never will. And the longer you try to make him understand, the longer you are delaying the inevitable. Because love isn't about convincing someone to care. It isn't about breaking yourself down into smaller pieces just to fit into their life. It's about two people choosing each other freely, openly, and without hesitation. And the right man, he won't need 1,000 explanations to get it right. He will listen the first time. He will see your value without needing to lose you first. And he will show you in every action, in every word, that you are worth more than silence, uncertainty, and one-sided effort. There is a moment when you stop running after people, a moment when you realize that your energy is too valuable to be wasted on someone who won't even meet you halfway. And when that moment comes, when you stop chasing, stop explaining, stop waiting, everything becomes clear. You see, people don't change because you want them to. They don't suddenly wake up and realize your worth just because you've given them endless chances. They don't become the person you hope they would be just because you love them enough. Change doesn't happen through force. It happens, and a man who truly values you won't need to be forced to act right. He will choose to. But when you chase, when you keep showing up for someone who won't even lift a finger for you, you give them permission to take you for granted. You show them that no matter what they do, no matter how silent, distant, or inconsistent they are, you will still be there. And when someone knows that you will always be there, they have no reason to step up. The hardest truth to accept is this. You teach people how to treat you. If you allow disrespect, it will continue. If you tolerate silence, it will grow louder. If you keep chasing, they will keep running. But when do you stop? When you remove yourself from the game? That's when everything shifts. Because the right man, a man who actually wants you, won't let you walk away in silence. He won't let distance build between you. He won't gamble with your presence in his life. Instead, he will show up consistently without needing to be reminded. And if he doesn't? If he lets you walk away without a fight, then you never had him in the first place. This is why walking away is so powerful. Not because it's a game, not because you're trying to manipulate someone into chasing you, but because it forces the truth to the surface. It reveals who actually values you and who is just enjoying the attention. It shows you who is willing to choose you without hesitation and who is only there out of convenience. And when you finally stop chasing, something incredible happens. You get your power back. You stop feeling anxious over his silence. You stop waiting for a text, a call, an apology. You stop questioning your worth just because he couldn't see it. Instead, you stand tall in the knowledge that you are enough, that the right person will never need to be convinced, that real love is given freely, not earned through endless effort. So let him be silent. Let him stay distant. Let him show you through his actions exactly where he stands. And if he chooses to stay on the sidelines, if he lets you walk away without a second thought, then thank him, because he just made it easier for you to find the man who won't. Silence is never just silence. It is communication. It is a statement. It is an answer, loud and clear. But the problem is most people don't want to hear it. They don't want to believe that the silence itself is the response. You wait, you overanalyze, you tell yourself that maybe he's busy, maybe he's stressed, maybe he just needs space. But deep down, you know the truth. If someone truly wants to be in your life, they will show up. They will make time no matter how chaotic their world is. They will not leave you in doubt, in confusion, in this endless cycle of questioning your worth. The silence, it's not confusion, it's clarity. It's telling you everything you need to know, but are you willing to listen? Because a man who is truly invested in you won't let silence be his answer. He won't make you wonder where you stand. He won't disappear and leave you with nothing but uncertainty. A man who cares shows you he cares, not just with words, but with consistent actions. But when someone gives you silence, they are sending you a message that their attention is elsewhere, that their effort is absent, that their interest has faded. And the more you excuse it, the more you enable it. You have to understand something. Love is not complicated. When a man truly wants you, his actions will make it obvious. He won't play mind games. He won't keep you on edge. He won't leave you desperate for breadcrumbs of attention. A man who is serious about you will prioritize you. So stop holding on to potential. Stop waiting for someone to become the man you need him to be. If his silence is making you feel unseen, unwanted, or unappreciated, then believe him. Believe his absence. Believe his lack of effort. Believe the way he disappears instead of showing up. Because real love, it doesn't feel like waiting. It doesn't feel like questioning. It doesn't feel like fighting for the bare minimum. Real love feels secure. It feels chosen. It feels like presence, not absence. So let his silence be the answer, not the answer you hoped for, but the one you needed, the one that finally sets you free, the moment you decide you've had enough. The moment you refuse to tolerate half-hearted love, mixed signals, and silence, you change everything. Because when you finally walk away from what's breaking you, you make space for what's meant for you. Too many people settle for less than they deserve because they fear being alone. They fear losing someone who doesn't even fully show up for them. But what's worse, being alone or feeling alone in someone's presence? Wasting time on someone who makes you question your worth. That's not love. That's self-betrayal. A man's silence is not a puzzle for you to solve. It's not a test you need to pass. It's an invitation for you to rise above the situation and realize that love is not meant to be begged for. Respect is not something you should have to chase. If someone truly values you, you will never have to question their effort. And when you stop tolerating inconsistency, you raise the standard for how you are treated. You show the world and yourself that you are no longer available for anything less than real, undeniable effort. And that is when everything shifts. Because when you start valuing yourself, something powerful happens. You stop hoping for change where there is none. You stop waiting for someone to finally appreciate what they've had all along. You stop giving unlimited chances to someone who has proven time and time again that they won't do the same for you. And instead, you redirect that energy back into yourself, into your growth, your peace, your healing. You begin to build a life so full, so rich with purpose that you no longer feel desperate for someone to choose you. You realize that you are the prize, that your time, your love, your presence, it is a gift. And the right person, they will recognize that immediately. They will cherish it. They will meet you with the same energy, the same consistency, the same depth. So let his silence be his choice, and let your response be the boldest statement of all. Walking away, not out of anger, not to teach a lesson, but because you finally know your worth. Walking away is not giving up. It is not a sign of weakness. It is not an act of defeat. Walking away is an act of power. It is the moment you choose yourself over uncertainty, over waiting, over hoping that someone will eventually see your worth. Most people don't leave because they still believe in potential. They hold on to the good moments, the promises, the possibilities of what could be instead of accepting what is. But potential is a dangerous thing to hold on to. It keeps you stuck in a cycle of false hope, waiting for someone to transform into the person they never intended to be. A man who truly values you does not make you feel invisible. He does not give you silence when you need clarity. He does not force you to question your worth just to feel needed. A man who cares doesn't create confusion. He creates security. And if you're not getting that, then you are settling. Somewhere along the way, you were taught that love means endurance, that if you just love hard enough, stay patient enough, and prove your worth enough, things will change. But love is not about how much you can endure. It is about how much you are willing to walk away from when it no longer serves you. And that is what most people fear. Not love, loss, the idea of losing someone, even when they bring more pain than peace, keeps people trapped. They would rather stay in a situation that drains them than face the discomfort of moving on. But here's the truth. Losing someone who doesn't value you is not a loss. It is a gain. It is gaining your peace back, gaining your self-respect, gaining your ability to choose what truly aligns with you. And when you finally walk away from the things that do not serve you, you clear the path for something greater. You create space for real love, for real effort, for the kind of connection that doesn't leave you feeling exhausted and unsure. Walking away does not mean you never care. It does not mean you never tried. It means you finally realized that love should not feel like fighting for a place in someone's life. Love should feel effortless in its presence, not in its absence. So stand tall, walk away, not out of anger, not out of revenge, but because you refuse to settle for anything less than the love you deserve. Letting go is not about forgetting. It's not about pretending that something never mattered. Letting go is about accepting reality. It's about understanding that holding on to something that isn't holding on to you will only drain your spirit. Some people stay stuck in the past because they believe that letting go means losing. They think that if they just wait a little longer, give a little more, prove themselves a little harder, things will change. But the truth is, you can't force someone to see your worth. You can't make someone value you the way you deserve, and you shouldn't have to. There is power in releasing what is not meant for you. There is strength in surrendering, because the moment you stop chasing, the moment you stop begging for clarity, for attention, for love, you set yourself free. You reclaim your power. You stop relying on someone else's actions to dictate your happiness. And that's when everything shifts. That's when you step into a version of yourself that is no longer waiting to be chosen, but is choosing themselves. No longer waiting for a message that may never come. No longer wondering why someone isn't trying harder. No longer questioning if you were ever enough, because you were always enough. You just had to believe it. The right person, the right love, the right life. It does not require exhaustion. It does not require you to keep proving yourself. It does not make you feel confused, insecure, or unseen. The right things will always find you when you are aligned with your worth, not when you are chasing validation. So let go, not because you no longer care, but because you care about yourself more. Let go because peace is more important than constantly questioning where you stand. Let go because your future is waiting for you to step into it without fear, without regret, without the weight of a past that no longer serves you. And if this message resonates with you, if it reminds you of your worth, then don't keep it to yourself. Like, share, and subscribe so that more people can hear the truth they need to hear. This is your time. Step into it, own it, live it,